Everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I am Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to be talking about what I think is one of Raid's biggest drawbacks, just as kind of a discussion, not to be, negative or down on the game, just as a discussion, see what y'all are interested, see what, Raid might be able to do better. Guys, let's get started. Hey, you, stop right there. Click the link in the description below to get a free Corrado, as well as Fane, Ugo, and Vergus as you level up your account in Raid. Here's exactly how to do it. Log out of Flareon Play on PC and uninstall. Click the link in the description below and register with a brand new email. Log in and complete the tutorial. You'll find Corrado in your inbox, as well as Fane, Ugo, and Vergus as you level up. If you're looking for a great start in Raid, this is your chance. Make sure you get your free Corrado as well as 3 free epics by clicking my link right away. All right, so I love Raid Shadow Legends. I really do. I think that this is an awesome game. I think there's a lot of fun. The elements that they have added over the years, like the Doom Tower, the Siege mode. Siege mode is super fun. The new clan boss, right? They added the Chimera, which is super cool. Hard mode Faction Wars is the most recent update and addition, so there's that as well. And at the same time as I enjoy all that content, I feel like Raid is in a bit of a loop. All right, so you go in, you do your daily quests, that's all cool. You do your monthly quest, that's all cool. You do your advanced quest, that's all cool. Having routines in the game is good, but we aren't really given anything flashy and new, I guess. I'm the kind of person who really likes change. I like to have new stuff thrown at me. I like that kind of stimulation. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it gives an opportunity for creativity. I don't think that Raid has that. It's an interesting kind of thing, because Raid isn't a bad game, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say, oh, Raid sucks and they need to do that's not what I'm trying to say here. But at the same time, we haven't really seen any new concepts from Raid for a very long time. I mean, Siege is arena that you do with your entire clan. Faction Wars hard mode is Faction Wars with greater restrictions than regular faction. They kind of just add more of the same stuff rather than really innovating. And I gotta say, that is one reason that I am very excited for Godforge and Fateless, because I think they have a chance to innovate in the genre quite a bit. So I think we could see something super exciting from them. We do our progressive chances, our 2x events, our summons, and then we've got the fusion. So guys, we have a very new fusion, just like every other month here, and it's a Tholen Foulbeard. I do have the graphic for his kit. He has a very cool kit, okay? He has a very cool kit. A2 ignores defense, ramps his attack, that kind of cool stuff. A1 is AoE with a chance of placing weaken, and then grants an extra turn if a weaken debuff was placed on all enemies by this skill. And then his A3 is a AoE double hitter, places increase attack for 2 turns. Each crit landed on the first hit increases the damage dealt on the second hit by 10%, with an ignore on unkillable and shield. And then his passive activates his A1 every 5th turn. Enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses and minions cannot land critical hits on this champion. Also, bosses and minions and Corrupted Alliance cannot resist the weaken that he has on his A1. So he's a really cool champ. He seems super solid, right? And I'm planning on going for him. I will say that. And I think most people probably should. But he's another fusion. How can they take a fusion and make it unique and interesting and fun? Now, I know one option that has been discussed is add a mythical fusion, right? So we've got so many mythicals in the game, and they're being given out for places like Hard Faction Wars, right? They're being given out for places like Cursed City, where we can get Carnage for free from hard mode. Right? Good old Carnage. And then, of course, Chimera, which is probably the easiest one to get. Embry's the anomaly. You can get your Embry's fragments from Chimera. So it has been talked about that, okay, maybe they'll do a mythical fusion. And while I think that is really bad for the game, I do agree that the fusions need to be changed up. The next legendary champion is not all that exciting, particularly because they add so many of them all the time, right? They're adding so many legendary champions. I think there are more legendary champions than any other rarity in the game. There has to be at this point, right? So as good as Tholen is, he's not new. You know, he's another damage dealer. We've got tons of those in the game. He does have some cool stuff. I will be picking him up. I think he'll go great with Queen of Hearts. Where's Queen of Hearts here? Queen of Hearts has an A1 AoE drop defense, so you know you can put her with Tholen, and then you've got your drop defense and weaken covered, and your damage dealing covered, and your ally attack, and your buff strip covered for Hydra and or Chimera. Like I think it's super cool. I think Tholen has the potential to be super great in Chimera, and don't get me wrong, he's not a bad champ. He is an exciting champ. I just think, you know, the next legendary isn't usually that exciting in the state of the game right now. I think Plarium's inability to innovate and make new stuff is going to eventually be their downfall. Now, again, not trying to be negative about the game. I'm just trying to make some observations here, some critical observations, because, you know, Plarium has come out with a couple new buffs and debuffs lately, right? But they're not that unique. They just enhance stuff that's already there. Yeah, like, okay, so we've got a new mythical, right? The new mythical, not yet in the game, but she has the one that reduces the buff that boosts ignore defense effects and a debuff that reduces ignore defense effects, which is cool and all. It's cool and all, but it's not unique, you know? You can get that just by building in more ignore defense with your champions. A lot of people have a Cat's Gaze, can throw in your Cat's Gaze there, and then you've got more ignore defense. You know what I mean? 100% ignore defense isn't that hard to accomplish in today's game. We've got our lethal set, we've got Helm Smasher, we've got a Cat's Gaze, right? We've got it built into skills nowadays as well, which is pretty awesome. We've got blessings for it. You know, we've got our Crushing Rend, right? Crushing Rend, which, you know, ignores defense based on champion level or the level of the bosses that you're facing. So, you know, the buff itself probably won't. The debuff might be problematic, but, you know, she'll need accuracy and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not entirely sure how, and I feel like there's so much room to innovate in this game, especially with the sheer number of champions. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many champions in this game, and so many of them do the exact same thing as other champions, you know, or very similar at least. I will say every champion in this game is unique, which is awesome. Some of them just don't get used, though. You know what I mean? Some of them don't get used. So they add restrictive content like Faction Wars Hard to make War Mother usable. Okay. I mean, on one hand, that's cool. I like that. And on the other hand, it's like, couldn't they have made something just different from Faction Wars Hard? Like, I think that would be great. The Chimera is cool. But it's too, I think it's too stagnant. I think if they had made the forms rotate as well as the affinity, that would have made Chimera a lot more fun. Like we have on Hydra, the heads rotate, right? The heads are different and different affinity every single rotation, and each rotation lasts like 3 weeks or whatever, right? So 3-4 weeks. I don't know. They could have added some stuff here. They definitely could have added stuff to Siege. I think Siege is a great game mode, by the way. Cursed City, I think, is the main problem. Cursed City is basically Faction Wars with better rewards as far as like restrictive content is concerned. I think restrictive content is great, by the way. Don't get me wrong. It's just not exactly innovative. You add more restrictive content to a game that's already chock full of restricted content. It's not particularly, oh wow, that's cool, you know what I mean? It's not particularly exciting. I think they could do a lot with campaign. I think campaign is still, I understand, you know, it's probably done content, but I think it's still one of the best areas of the game, not in the least because it is the only place in the game where we actually get story. So as you play your first playthrough through campaign, you kind of follow the story, right? Which is cool. I think that's really cool, and I think it's cool how they incorporated most of the different factions in here. You know, at the end of that story, they do say that, you know, there could be a campaign part 2. Let's see a campaign part 2. Let's continue the story. I think that would be awesome. It's the only area of the game where we actually have story, which I think is important. I think if you could make the depth of the game broader, I think that would make it exciting too. Why are our champions fighting? Why is Calamitous, on our team? What's up with Ninja? I mean, we do have champion lore, right? But you have to click on it's not immersive in the content, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not immersive in the content. We get, kind of more of the same thing all the time, which on the one hand is really good. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think there's too much of it, I think there's too much. That's kind of my thoughts. I think we could see a lot of innovation, and I don't think it's gonna come. I don't think it's gonna come. Yeah, that, and Plarium keeps refusing the player base just basic quality of life stuff. Okay, to be fair, over the past couple months, over the past year especially, they have done a lot in terms of actually doing quality of life changes. I think the preset manager is actually amazing, right? That's a great quality of life change. Yeah, I think the fact that we have more gear now is really good. More gear space, that's a great quality of life change. But like basic stuff, come on, like Minotaur is easy content, okay? And we could fall farm our masteries much faster if we had a couple more stages, or if they boosted the rates. If they don't want to add more stages, they could boost the rates, or we could even have Minotaur hard. I think that would be good as well, just, so that we could farm our masteries a little faster. Potion keeps could have super raids. They're just basic quality of life stuff that for whatever reason they refuse to add, and we just gotta play the game. We just gotta play the game, guys. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on Raid's innovative prowess in the comments below. I've been Felra, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends, and I'll see you in another video.